Hey everybody, thank you for listening to this episode of Pass the Mic, and we want to tell you a little bit about how you can support not just liking, subscribing, reviewing, but also our Patreon audience as well.
Absolutely. We are a listener-supported podcast, so thank you so much to our current patrons, and we want to invite you and give you the opportunity, if you're not already a patron, to go ahead and go to patreon.com/passthemic. You can pay as little as $1 an episode, and your support helps make this podcast possible.
Vocoders, $1. Support us. Patreon.com/Pass the Mic. Greetings and God bless. Welcome to another episode of Pass the Mic, dynamic voices for a diverse church powered by The Witness, a Black Christian collective. I am your host, Tyler Burns. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Burns Clan. Please follow at your own risk. And joining me, as always, to my right is the founder of The Witness. He has a very extensive bio. The man, the myth, the legend, the two-time best-selling author, the professor, Mr. Blue Check Verified himself, the Substack author, JamarTisby.substack.com. Jamar, how you doing?
Doing great, brother.
Okay. Jamar's doing well. On my left, we got, of course, the vice president of The Witness and the author of the forthcoming book,
I Won't Shut Up, Finding Your Voice When the World Tries to Silence You.
Allie Henny. Allie, what's going on? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. You put me on the spot every single time with that book title.
Hey, we gotta, you know what I'm saying? We gotta indoctrinate the listener.
Ready. Come on, let's go.
We do, but like, so here's the gag. I don't always remember the subtitle of my book. I remember the title, but I don't always remember the subtitle. So I'm like, deer headlights, like finding your voice when the world tries to silence you. So I try to be confident with it, but that might not even be the name of the book.
So it's funny because I remember the original. This is an insider, but I remember the original name. So that's why I always revert back to the original name that you first started with.
Oh yeah, what was that?
Diary of a Loud Black Woman.
Oh yes.
Yeah, so I always think about that.
Yes.
That's insider. That's insider.
Yes.
That's really good.
Yes, that's
so
right.
every time I think, that's why I stop, because I always want to go to that one, because I remember reading the initial of that one. I was like, so.
Yes,
yeah.
that's right.
So Tyler didn't want to mess up, so then he points to you.
He points to me, and I'm like, I don't remember the name of my book, because it had another title between the two of us.
Exactly,
Anyway,
yeah, it's too important. So, you know what's very interesting? I was thinking about this, 2023, after pandemic, multiple years of isolation, kind of feeling overwhelmed, injustice, all the above. And I was thinking with gratitude about how amazing it is to have relationships, friendships, community like this. Mm-hmm. And many times in The Witness, we have that, but it feels distant. It feels almost elusive just because of the world and the nature of the world. I mean, you think about it during the pandemic, and the pandemic's technically, still going on, but in the midst of a pandemic, you're at the place of trying to survive, and how survival has just been a big conversation. And so, it made me think about the time we had in 2019 at the first Joy and Justice Conference. And I wanted to kind of open this up because obviously you all know Joy and Justice 2023 is coming very, very soon. To find out more about that, you can go to riseupandflourish.com. But I want to have a conversation about why this gathering and us doing this gathering 4 years after the first one is so important, it's so necessary, it's so vital. And Jay, I want to kick it to you because we had this long conversation about what
4 years.
I know, right?
I'm sitting here counting.
Yeah, we're like, what?
Wow.
It's almost hard to, and I guess technically almost 4 years, I should say, because it's not in the same month. But, we really had this conversation in 2018 about what would it look like to gather people together for the sake of encouragement, thriving, that we could see each other. Mm-hmm. And we talked about that a lot, like seeing each other. When you think about that first conference, it was such a special time, not because of, and the speakers were great. Mm-hmm. The music was great. Mm-hmm. The activities were great.
The venue
the venue was great. It's the people.
Yeah.
It was the people, bro. And I feel like there's something really necessary now for people to come together again and to encourage one another in person, face to face, in a safe, healthy way.
It was family.
Yeah.
When we got there, so many of these conferences, especially the Christian ones, unfortunately, when you go, if you're a Black person and it's not Black centered, then you go with your guard up. You go wondering when somebody's going to say the offensive comment, the racist statement, the colorblind ideology that'll fix everything, right? So you can't really fully enter into the experience when you've got your guard up like that. But at Joy and Justice, I mean, we intentionally curated a space that said to Black people, come on, be fed, be nourished, rest, enjoy, laugh. And I'll never forget y'all clowning me because I started dancing.
I was just getting ready to talk about this. So this is the thing. But I was getting ready to talk about this in a serious way because it was funny and we laughed. But I've never seen Jamar that free.
It's
Exactly.
true. It's true.
Exactly.
I've never seen you that free. And like after it's over, just for those who don't know, after it's, I think it was the first day, I think it was the first night, I think it was the first night or the second. But after it's over, Jamar is like kind of breakdancing in the middle of the, like at the altar. And we were laughing and joking about it. But I was like, yo, this is the freest I've seen Jamar. And I felt like, bro, it was and I don't mean to, but I seriously, when I think about it, I felt like it was like your David moment after all that you had been through. Like really taking off the sackcloth, taking off the pain, taking off the weight of injustice, and just really truly being free.
My.
And I feel like you danced your way into your next.
Yes.
Like you danced your way into freedom. And there was just something about that. And I remember Ali as well, like we had this moment, I think it was the first night we were at the altar, and I was either standing next to you or in the vicinity, and I was like, this is so holy. Like this is like a really holy moment that we're able to literally come to the altar and lay these burdens down. And we were doing a conference and it was hectic, and if you've done a conference and an event, all these things are firing and team and everything, but I felt like there was something so holy in that moment.
Yeah, I remember just looking around at all the people who were there and realizing that it's like, this is a space that we have created for us. This is a space that we've created where, and I hope that people were able to come and heal, come and hear things that, like to Jamar's point, about not like having to brace yourself, not having to kind of steel yourself for the moment of, am I going to hear something that's going to harm me? And recently, I guess it's been about 3 years now, because actually I moved to Chicago after the conference. I like Chicago so much I decided to stay there. But even like with going to a Black church, going back into a Black church after the conference, after that experience, I realized how much in predominantly white church spaces, how tense I am, how much I steel myself for, am I going to hear something in the sermon that's going to be off? And I have had some great white pastors. I've had some great people. I think of Pastor Christie, who was part of a church that I helped plant, and Father David, who was my first priest in the Episcopal Church. They were good. They were good white folks, and it wasn't that there was ever any intent or anything like that. But just thinking about, like, if somebody says something, how are people going to respond to the sermon? Sometimes I would be steeling myself because Pastor Christie or Father David would say something, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, how's this going to be taken by other people? But I didn't have that at the conference. I didn't have that in that experience. And really, I would say that the Joy and Justice Conference helped me to see what my own faith could be, what my own experience could be. I was on a trajectory back into the Black church anyway because of a lot of my experiences. But for me, having that sacred, holy Black space is what solidified for me, and I understand that not everybody has access to the Black church, but that was something for me, that having that Black church experience, it solidified for me where I needed to be.
That's so powerful. I feel like it did that for a number of people.
That's right.
And from the witness of what they shared with me at the conference and then post-conference, there was something so special there in our workshop, in the workshop that I did. There was an older black man who had been literally silenced in his church for praying a prayer of justice. Wow. That he had prayed a prayer, and they had asked him to pray a prayer because, of course, he's the lone black deacon or elder or something of that nature there. And he stands up to pray, and he prays, really from what he described, a very mild, moderate prayer. But he names things. And when he names something, someone yells out, "That's enough."
Wow.
And literally silences him during prayer. Yeah, like it's literally, like, I know, like it's the visceral weight of that. And we gathered around him because we were talking about generational appreciation, right? We're talking about what it looks like for generations within the Black church and Black community to work together. And the younger generation gathered around him and prayed for him.
Wow.
What a beautiful.
And it was,
Just sacred.
I wept because I just felt so much in, number one, his courage to share that with us. And think about it, it's a room of people he doesn't know. And the courage to share that with us, but then also to enter into healing. And for us to, through his witness, enter into healing ourselves.
For the young to minister to the
And
older.
for us to minister to the old. And there's so much that happened at Joy and Justice behind the scenes, and there's so much that we look back on and we're like, okay, we would have done this differently, we would have done that differently, we would have tweaked this, adjusted that. But y'all, was holy. It was just so holy and healing. And as we enter back into this, I think it's important for us to level set because we're going to be there. We're going to be speaking at the conference. We have some really dope people that are also going to be speaking at the conference. But it's less about speakers. Speakers are important.
Yes.
The experts are important. The heralds are important. And I'm looking forward to glean more from the wisdom of Dr. Tisby. Like, I'm looking forward to hearing more from Ali. I'm looking forward to being able to share what I believe the Lord has placed on my heart for the future of Black Christian community. But honestly, y'all, like, it's about the people.
Yes, absolutely.
You don't come here because you want to see the speaker. You don't come here because you want to hear us. You come here because you want to experience healing together.
Yes.
And so the theme that we've talked about, and Ali, I want you to talk about this, is Rise Up and Flourish. And when we called Joy and Justice, so originally when we talked about the Joy and Justice Conference, Jay, that was, I think it was because it was Jay's, like, that's what. Jamar's Joy and Justice Conference.
Purely alliteration.
I was like, this brother a Baptist preacher, like, Jamar, Joy and Justice. But so we talked about Joy and Justice and the marriage of those two and how you really helped me to lean into, I was like, justice, justice, justice. You were like, what about joy and justice? Right. What about like Black joy and leaning into that, right?
There's so much about our story as a people, particularly in the United States, that's about this pursuing justice, speaking truth to power, this really hard-edged attitude that we had simply to survive. And that is integral to our story. It's part of what makes us who we are. But what always astounded me, especially in my study of history, is how Black people found joy in the midst of pursuing that justice.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It wasn't just all marches and uprisings. It was juke joints. It was collard greens. It was Black Twitter and Soul Train. You name it. It's absolutely mind-boggling how a people who have been so deliberately victimized and oppressed can come back with the embodied example of, you can't steal my joy. The world didn't give it and the world can't take it away.
Wow.
And so I just thought the juxtaposition of those
This joy that I have.
right. It just
That's such a powerful
really
moment.
embodies our experience. It's the both and of Black life. Yeah.
And when Pastor Faison ended his sermon with that.
Unforgettable.
Oh, and everybody was singing. It was like, oh, I was like, yo, this is exactly what we wanted.
Right.
Yes.
But let me tell you, grace ain't fair, because you got a preacher in Pastor Faison, who's an incredible preacher, but he could also sing.
No, hold up. Because I got to save my rant about singing preachers later. I'm going to talk to y'all about I can't stand y'all singing preachers, okay? I can't stand y'all singing preachers.
Listen, share the wealth.
Share what God gave for you. Tell God, take it away. Say, God, take this cup from me and give it to him.
I got too much talent.
Because I can hold 2 notes. But Ali, I want to talk about Rise Up and Flourish because you've really crafted so much of this language, and we've talked about Rise Up and Flourish internally as a team, but we haven't had the opportunity to lean into it externally as a people, as a community, as an extended collective at The Witness. Talk a little bit about Rise Up and Flourish and why that message is so important for now.
So first of all, I want to say that Rise Up and Flourish is an extension of what Joy and Justice is. And in fact, the conference is Joy and Justice 2023, Rise Up and Flourish. And so I see rising up and flourishing being just like Joy and Justice. Like they're analogous to one another. So Rise Up is analogous to justice. Flourishing is analogous to joy, and so we're really carrying on some of those things that we were doing at the last conference. We want to bring that into this conference and build upon it. And so, Rise Up and Flourish. We really see this as a chance for people to get free. So at the last conference, we had spaces of lament. We had spaces of healing. We had different things that we were doing that was all necessary, that was all part of the process. But we just don't want to stay in that place, because I think that, we were talking about leaving loud. We're talking about all these different types of things. It can be very easy for us to stay in the place of lament, for us to stay in the place of defining ourselves by what we're leaving and by what we're not and about who we're not. So we really wanted to theme this conference around getting free and saying, rise up and flourish. It's time to get free. And so rising up is being a faithful witness to justice in our generation. So we want to empower people to be able to rise up and to be able to say, this is wrong. Racism is wrong. The various injustices that a lot of different people experience in the world are wrong. And so we are going to take a stand against those things. Yet at the same time, we want to flourish. We want to experience healing. We want to experience something that releases our souls, that frees our souls from all the bondage and all the weight and all the sin and all the stink of this world. And so for me, it's not just a conference. It's not just, and yes, bring your notebook, bring your notebook, bring your brain, bring your heart, bring all of that. But it's not just about, I'm going to come and I'm going to hear great preaching, which you are. It's not, I'm going to come and I'm going to hear somebody, I'm going to hear, Jamar talk about history and roots and all this other type of stuff, which you are. You're going to get that. We know what we're getting. Whenever with Jamar, we know what we're getting. But it's not just that. And we've hit on it already, but I want to name some of the stuff that we're talking about. It's not just a conference, it's an experience. And everything that we've been talking about before, we've been talking about the experience. We've been talking about the moments, those moments, like when Pastor Faison got up and spoke spoke and sung. That was an experience. Whenever we're talking about the different moments of healing, the different altar moments, the different prayers, the different things that went forth, that's an experience. And so we want to continue with that. We want for you to come and to experience what it means to be a Black Christian that is concerned with justice, but then you're also experiencing the healing and the joy and the things that the world can't give and the world can't take away.
I love that because, we talked about this a lot, the cognitive and the embodied,
there it is.
Right?
Yeah.
So yes, we want you to bring your brain, right? Because I think The Witness, and this is hopefully not being too presumptuous, but I think The Witness is a Black Christian organization where you can bring both your brain and your burdens, where you can both bring your mind and your body. And you can exist within your body and bear the weight of injustice and pain and just being overwhelmed, because outside of just injustice, like injustice is is really at the root and foundation. But then you talk about just life. You know, you talk about life, and that's why we want to create a space that is both thought-provoking and uplifting, where we want to think and we want to be uplifted with worship sets, with panels, with sessions, with activities. We want to be uplifted in the midst of this. And so I want people to be able to bring those burdens, but also feel like those burdens are coming off and feel like there's something that rises up on the inside of them and causes them to flourish. And if from the people that listen to the podcast, read the materials on the Witness website, know about us, the Black people who I interact with, and this is not in a negative, this is just what it is. Typically the white Christians who interact with us, the white people who interact with us are saying this is helping me think. And that's good, like we're here for that. But the Black people that I've interacted with who are in our audience are saying this is helping me live.
Ooh.
And that's okay. Like I don't poo-poo that, I don't downplay the white Christian experience when they're engaging with our work. But for Black Christians, like, it's helping me make it. Because literally I didn't know there were people like me out there with the same experience, with the same situation. And that's why we're here. That's why we want people to come and be uplifted. And for Black Christians to really have that thought-provoking space that is uplifting, that really lifts off those burdens and allows them to be who God has called them to be.
And to that point, because I think it's always helpful to name things. It's always helpful. Sometimes I'm a person that I will just like make up words and phrases. Whenever I was a kid, I would just like make up a word if I didn't know what something was.
Oh, me too.
I would just be like, I don't know what this is. I'm gonna call my belly button a con-con. I have no idea. I know that's a whole other story. I have no idea what this is.
I don't think I went to that level. I'm impressed by that.
My mom talks about it all the time. I would just straight up just make up words, and my mom and my sister and my dad like had to figure out what I was saying. But I like the idea of like naming things and having something that you don't have to say all of like the long thing, because we can say something and we can say one or two words and everybody knows what it means. And Tyler, what you described is what we talk about as being a spiritual Goshen.
Yeah.
So
there it is. I was waiting for it.
In the Bible, in
the
the book of Exodus, whenever the children of Israel were about to be Exodus, whenever Moses was going before Pharaoh and was saying, "Let my people go," and all this other type of stuff, there was a point when during the plagues, the children of Israel went out to a place, and they went out to the place, the land of Goshen, and that was where they were able to rest. That was where they were able to receive healing. So all this stuff, all Hades is breaking loose there in Egypt, there right where the Pharaoh was. But God created a place. God sent them to a place where they could have respite and healing. So for me, what this conference is, what you're talking about, these moments, whenever people are saying, well, this is telling me how to live. This is something that I'm seeing where I am not the only one who thinks this way. Where this hits me in my heart. This is making me feel something. What I would call that is that's a Goshen. Those are Goshen moments.
Spiritual Goshen.
And so what we want to do at this conference is then to have a place, and not just like a moment, here and there, but for that weekend, to create a place that is a place of rest, a place of healing, a place of nourishment, a place where people can be equipped to then go and fight whatever battles that they might have to fight. But even as a place, to me, because I call it spiritual, I think of it as spiritual because you might have to return there in your mind sometimes. For some of us, we're going through, we're in places, and it's not just, we talk about church because we're Christians, but it's not just our churches that are racist. It's our jobs that are racist. Ooh. It's our neighborhoods that are racist. It's our kids' school that's racist.
Wow.
It's the law enforcement that's racist. It's the colleges that we attend that's racist. Racism is everywhere. And so sometimes we need to go someplace, and we might not be able to physically go someplace. But if we can mentally and spiritually go someplace, I'm not talking about like astral projection. People like somebody, like Allie's talking about astral projection.
Going to a different place.
Like I'm not saying that, but sometimes you need the stealing away.
Yes.
where
Yes.
you can steal away, and maybe sometimes the only place that you can steal, you can't go to the Hush Harbor, you can't go to the conference every week, but you can steal away within yourself.
Yep.
And you can remember what God did for you at the Joy and Justice Conference in Chicago in 2019, in 2023, whatever it is. And maybe you have other moments that are your Goshen type of moments. But I think that this conference is something that I hope that whenever people attend it, that they will mark that day. They'll mark that time. They'll say June 23rd and 24th of 2023 in Chicago, I had an experience with God. I had a moment that's going to sustain me.
I love that. And I think, our hearts have been about something that we really believe in, Jamar, which is collective liberation, right? That nobody's free until we're all free.
Amen.
Really coming together and saying that if you're a Black person in this country experiencing what we all are experiencing, nobody's free until we're all free, right? Like that's what we desire. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And so I don't, again, it's not about speakers, but we're going to be speaking at the conference.
Oh my goodness.
Got my
Both
sister.
of these folks. Ooh, y'all get ready.
It's been a minute since I really did
I'm
the
just
thing.
saying,
So I'm like,
does the venue come with seatbelts?
Yeah,
That's all.
but you preach it every week. I
but you know what I'm saying.
Like,
I'm ready to expand that a little bit. So I'm ready to
get up
I'm ready to do a little something.
You might be ready. We may not be ready, but we're going to be there.
But my sister Danielle Koch, Oh Happy
Oh
Danielle,
my
is going to be there.
goodness.
She is a tremendous, joyful,
Yes.
but also extremely thoughtful voice that, especially from a Gen Z perspective, is really going to bless us. Dr. Christina Edmondson is going to be there.
Always
There's
a
so many
blessing.
others that'll come out. You can go on the website, riseupandflourish.com, find out more details. But we just wanted to invite you all to be in the space with us as we experience this spiritual Goshen, as we experience collective liberation, as we rise up to be faithful witnesses for justice, and as we have collective healing together and we flourish. There's nothing that can replace, and there's no replacement for us being together. And so we just want to declare and announce you are welcome. Joy and Justice Conference 2023. And Jay, you wanted to say something?
As y'all were talking, it just struck me that isolation is a primary tool of oppression.
Yeah. Oof.
well,
And when you're talking about the people of it, it reminded me, you can go all the way back to race-based chattel slavery. What did they do first? Was isolate you from your nation, isolate you from your kingdom, isolate you from your people, and then you were easier to control. Then you couldn't plot to rise up.
Wow.
Then you couldn't
Well.
reach flourishing.
Well.
And so actually attending a conference like this is taking away one of the primary tools of oppression, which is isolation, and filling that with community and connection.
How you gonna drop this at the end?
Right.
I was just waiting for my.
see, we told you was going to get rude.
Like you just like what? How you just gonna drop this at the end? Man,
Yeah,
I
y'all
didn't pass the
inspired
ball.
me. No,
I didn't
yeah.
pass the ball to you quick enough. You were going for the alley oop. You were like, you were pointing up like, go. Nah, that's powerful. That's powerful. I experienced that Goshen with y'all.
Right.
And I think part of why we continue doing this work is because we experience that with each other, and we desire for other people to experience that with us.
And people saw that. People would comment to us saying essentially, I wish I had what you guys seem to have. Because they see us interacting on the show, online, and they're like, I long for that community where they are. And as you're saying, sometimes you can't physically go to that place, but if you can have a mountaintop experience of fellowship, if you will, then that vision, it actually raises your standards. There's scientific studies that show if you have something that is a higher standard than you're normally used to, you're never satisfied with that lower standard again. Because you know what it can be like. And that's what Joy and Justice, that's what Rise Up and Flourish is about coming there, experiencing this holistic, spiritual, Black community.
Yes.
And saying, I'm never settling for anything less. Again.
Wow. That
Okay, then.
okay, blue
then.
check.
Well,
Let me tell you, he tried to get out of doing this episode. He was like, I don't know if I'm really needed.
he was
I don't
literally
really
like
know.
sliding off the couch, like,
It's
yeah,
a
you
new
know, I
generation.
just
He's
don't
like,
It's a
I
new-
don't know, it's no shade. Like, it's fine.
It's
and then you
fleeter
drop
feet
that.
carrying this forward, so I don't want to hold y'all
then-
back. But
no, brother.
my. It's a I'm saying this because, and y'all have said it again, and I'm just putting an exclamation point on it. This is not just a conference.
Yes.
It's entering into a community that most of us have always longed for.
Yes.
It felt like church in the purest, truest sense, the people of God coming together. That's when you said holy, sacred, healing. I mean, how many times can you apply those words to a conference, right?
well.
So I'm just telling Black people in particular, this is not something like, I'm gonna just catch the webinar, the replay, or the video. That's great. It's very informative.
Be in the room.
But if you want transformative, you got to come shake Allie's hand
Yeah.
or fist bump, you know.
yeah, germs. And we're gonna try to
Yes.
be COVID.
Yeah,
conscious
we're gonna be
as
COVID
we-
conscious for sure.
Right.
For sure. No matter what the government say,
yeah.
we're gonna try to be COVID
Right.
conscious.
You got to be in there when Tyler, he never takes it off, but when he really cocks his pastor hat and gets into it and calls for the altar call, you got to be there.
How you know I was gonna do an altar call?
See? You know it's going to happen. All I'm saying is this is the weariness, the wearing. As you said, racism is omnipresent, you know, pretty much. That weathers us. And in order to get that healing, get that flourishing, you gotta really be among your people. And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Dr. Willie Jennings says that space and place is the arena of divine meeting. That when you enter into it's the arena where God meets. So, hey, there's so much more we
Yes.
can say, but we really want to extend an invitation to Black Christians to be in the room with us June 23rd and 24th of 2023 at the Joy and Justice Conference, where the theme is Rise Up and Flourish. Because, as we like to say, and you'll hear us say 1,000 times more before the conference and at the conference, it's time for us to get free. It's time to get free, y'all. We'll see you there.